Stories of Kansas City strangulations over 2 decades are raising red flags tonight.
A computer model built especially for tonight's Scripps Howard NBC Action News investigation identifies suspected serial killer clusters right here in Kansas City. Here's investigator Russ Potasek. Russ?
Elizabeth and Mark, before we started our investigation, we confirmed this software analysis could accurately find known serial killings by looking for common victims and common methods of death. But can it help police here, going back to the 80s, to clear a spree of Kansas City strangulations? In 1996, James Watson strangled the life out of 16-year-old April Sima.
This is a picture of April. It was taken in January. She was killed in May.
Shortly after that murder, Watson raped and strangled again, this time 21-year-old Rebecca Carlson. Now, 15 years later, a high-tech computer program created by the Scripps Howard News Service raises new concerns about other killers and victims in Kansas City.
I'm suspicious.
April's mother, Donata Curtis, is suspicious because the program identified dozens of Kansas City strangulations listed as unsolved, many about the same age as her young daughter.
Those poor women, after all this time, sit there and they wonder what happened to their daughter.
Veteran reporter Tom Hargrove collected 500,000 homicide records from FBI files and Freedom of Information Act requests.
There's always a chance that it's a coincidence, but it's almost mathematically unlikely.
His program accurately identified the serial killings of Lorenzo Gilliard in Kansas City and BTK in Wichita. Lieutenant Ken Landwehr in Wichita reviewed the Scripps Howard program.
His cluster picked up on strangulations.
In Kansas City, the program identified 43 female strangulation victims reported unsolved during the 80s and 90s.
Oh, absolutely. Clearly, it shows an abnormal pattern in a window of a high incidence of females being strangulated.
Of the 43 unsolved strangulations, we filed an open records request for the identities and status of the 12 victims with ages unknown or under 20. 5 remain unsolved.
They're certainly ruling out serial killer on the handful that remain open that I looked up.
Of those open cases, chronicled by Kansas City Star and Times headlines, police later clarified that DNA and witnesses rule out a common killer. Although they acknowledge anything is possible, detectives say there are no known connections.
They're saying there's no connection between any of them. Don't believe it.
Retired Police Sergeant John Dawson has long been critical of what he calls departmental misconduct and believes whistleblowing led to retaliatory investigations against him. Clippings show he worked many of those strangulations.
It was all body dumps.
He says detectives were warned against exposing suspicions they were chasing multiple serial killers.
We didn't use the word serial killer. Afraid to cause panic in the community.
It just infuriates me.
Clark, whose daughter's murder was towards the end of the clusters, is angry police held back information.
And everybody else seemed to think, oh, let's not worry the public. What are you thinking?
A lot of them were strangled with their own clothes.
Old microfilm clips show of the 5 strangulation cases where police now rule out connections, at least 2 were found semi-nude with their hands tied behind their backs. And 2 of the women were strangled on the very same day.
Awful lot of bodies kept popping up.
We only examined 5 of the strangulations listed as open, and police say they can't speculate on connections or solve rates on the 36 remaining strangulations reported unsolved.
That would require somebody going to the warehouse and looking up, and leafing through and rereading every single case, and I didn't do that. I looked up the 12 that, you wanted me to look up.
We're talking about a bunch of murders. They need to be reopened, re-examined.
Curtis says police initially dismissed her theory of a serial killer too.
I knew in my heart, and I didn't care what the police said.
Ultimately, police believed, and now her daughter's killer is spending life in prison. April's killer is only suspected in those 2 Johnson County cases, although in Kansas City, police won't rule out the possibility of one or multiple serial killers. They tell us routine checks of cold cases for DNA and witnesses do not show links. They acknowledge some of their cold cases don't have any DNA evidence, but there's currently no plan to reopen any of these cases. Now, that retired Detective Dawson suspects up to 5 serial killers operating at one time.
Wow.
Other retired detectives that I spoke to and Dawson say that they had specific names. They knew people that they suspected, they just couldn't pin it on them at the time.
Oh, wow. Well, what do police think about the serial killer app?
Well, nationally, 2 agencies have reopened cases based upon this software.
Really?
But in Kansas City, police say they have their own sophisticated software. They didn't find a lot of use. They said maybe it'd be better for a small department. We've put this program online, so smaller departments, and we're encouraging witnesses to take a murder, enter the age, the race, the type of death, and look for patterns. And if you find something, let us know. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. All right.
All right, thanks.
Well, Len Breeden was a suspect in the slayings of 7 women whose bodies were found in the Missouri River. The murders occurred from 1982 to 1994. One of the victims was Kimberly Rash, whose daughter is still looking for the truth.
I knew that she wanted to make her life better. She just recently got out of jail, and she told my grandma that things were going to change. She was going to take care of us, you know, my brother and I.
Amy was a year old, her mom just 19. It was years before her mother's murder got linked to the others.
I've done nothing wrong as far as related to these girls' deaths.
Greg Breeden did many interviews to say he didn't kill anyone. He admitted he knew some of them from the time they spent along Independence Avenue, and at one point he was charged with killing Viola McCoy. But the charges were dropped when a jailhouse informant who said Breeden confessed to him changed his tune.
Everybody thinks I'm the worst monster in the world because of all this, and I've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Breeden's body was found yesterday in his Butler, Missouri motel room. Breeden died of natural causes. Amy says her grandmother was convinced Breeden was the killer. Amy says it's time for anyone who knows what happened to come forward.
Just a peace of mind, you know, so we could stop wondering and hoping that somebody would say something, you know, so we could go on with our lives, and my mom and all the other women could rest in peace.
Now, Butler police say they never had any problems with Breeden, but some citizens were uncomfortable around him. Kansas City police say the cases are still open, and if you have any information in them, they want to hear from you. The number to call, 816-474-TIPS. We're live along the Missouri River. Peggy Bright, KMBC 9 News.
That's all, folks.